I'm Alex Hirsch, creator of Gravity Falls.
I'm Jason Ritter. I'm the voice of Dipper.
I'm Kristen Schaal, and I voiced Mabel.
And I'm Alex Hirsch. I'm the voice of Grunkle Stan.
And and many others.
And Seuss and
random Towns member number 3.
Bill.
Old Man McGucket.
Old
Right?
Man McGucket. So
Bill.
this is our very first aired episode of Gravity Falls. This was actually the 7th episode we produced. They kind of gave us a little bit of lead time on the series so that we could kind of play them in different orders, and we were really not sure what we wanted our first episode to be, so we waited as long as possible to make it.
I also can recognize because some of what you used for my voice in this episode was from one of the earlier pilots.
The original pilot.
I recognize Dipper sounds a little bit different to me in that first little section.
What's the difference?
It's like, I'm Dipper. It's a little nerdier as opposed to like, hi, I'm Dipper. It's like...
Jason hadn't fully gone through puberty yet when we did the
I
pilot, and it took a little bit of time to reach the Dipper you know now.
I'm just wrapping my head around this. This is the 7th version of the pilot?
No, this is the 7th episode we produced in production order.
So you made this without us?
Well, there was a short pilot version.
Yeah, that we did.
Yeah,
that
it
we
was the
did.
original pilot, and then the show got greenlit, and then we started making the episodes. But this was the 7th in the order of production that we created, just in the writing and all that stuff.
Okay.
Because so pilots, like for our listeners, if you ever want to create a TV show, writing a pilot is literally the hardest thing to do in the world because basically it's like a first date for a television show. You've got a very short, but you've only got 21 minutes for your date. And in that time, you're not just trying to get your date to love you, you're trying to get them to love an entire cast of characters and a world and a tone. And audiences and people are predisposed not to fall in love immediately.
Yeah.
So you're fighting all of our natural skeptical instincts and trying to endear yourself in a very short amount of time, and also trying to tell a story while you're doing that magic trick. So most TV shows, if you go back and watch the pilot, even great TV shows, it doesn't feel like your favorite episode because it's juggling all those balls.
Yeah.
And that's why we waited so long at this, because we kept rewriting it. This opening, in fact, was probably the last thing we wrote because there was this feeling like this is a kind of a weird concept for a show. It's about these kids who are at a tourist trap, which is not a very well-known thing in culture, this idea of the Santa Cruz mystery spot or something like that. And then just the fact that the shack is fake, but the town is real, and each character's personality. And what order do we introduce that in? It was very important for me to try to get into Mabel being Mabel as soon as possible, though. So it was like, start by telling people, action is coming, but wait. And then do this intro where we get a little glimpse of each character, and then just have Mabel be herself.
And
So
make
you're-
you fall in love with her.
Make you fall in love with Mabel. That's the purpose of all the sequence.
So your process, would you just stay up all night eating Chinese food until you got it?
Yeah, and I was in a noir PI office, and the shade from the blinds. It was mainly me and Michael Rianda, and our head writer at the time, Dan McGrath, just sort of writing pieces and reading them and being like, is this engaging? And I think this segment with Mabel was one of our earliest pieces that we knew we needed to have, because so much of the show and the comedy of the show and the heart of the show comes from Mabel's
Mabel.
just sweet positivity and her tone.
I agree. She is the heart and soul of the show.
And also,
What?
Dipper has some.
What? I don't know. I don't-
Role to play
There's a
in
little
all
bit
of
of
this.
sibling rivalry happening in the studio here, guys.
Look what's on the cash machine. 618. What does it mean? That's the second 618 we've seen in
That's
this
the
episode.
devil's
Are
number.
you serious?
Yeah, one
Is
was
it
upside
really?
down.
What?
Oh yeah,
Wait, are you
618
serious?
goes all the way through this show. Oh, you gotta watch closely for the clues.
So for the
Well,
listeners,
that's your birthday, isn't it?
that is the birthday of me and my twin sister,
Yeah.
618. It's not just me being egocentric.
Yes,
it's
it is.
also my twin sister, so it's half ego, half for her. Jason basically is Dipper in real life and has seen all of these episodes maybe almost as many times as I have. Kristen's never watched the show, so this is all new to her.
I have so many other shows. But it's good. It's good. I'm watching it now.
She has a lot of jobs. She has a part-time job just shoveling the money that blocks her front door.
money. No, I love the show.
So this pilot, one of the things that wasn't in the very first version was this whole idea of Dipper finding this journal. We produced, before there was a series and before anything was greenlit, I was pretty new out of school, and I did like a kind of almost homemade, like Disney paid for it, but it was very lo-fi pilot version of the series. And in that first pilot, Dipper had a monster manual. It was called Dr. Crackpot's Guide to the Wacky or something. And it was just meant to provide reference for Dipper's paranoia. But this idea that there would be a full journal that was from a mysterious character, that until the show got greenlit, that wasn't something we knew for sure.
I didn't know that. That's cool.
It was, well, I remember I always build the show as I wanted to have a lot of mystery. And then when they picked it up, the job was sit down and figure out what is it actually going to be. So, and that's another reason why we made this the 7th episode we produced, because we were still in process of, I'd say by the time we had written our 3rd episode or so, me and Michael Rianda, sort of my head creative guy, had mapped out the broad arc of the series. And I'll just tell for, again, people listening, like, there are going to be nonstop spoilers in this commentary. So if you haven't seen the entire series, for Pete's sake, go back, watch it, then listen to this commentary.
Because that tree comes back later,
tree
guys,
is the big
in
bad.
Season 2.
So I'll spoil the entire show for you right now. At this point in the series, what we knew continuity-wise was a little bit. We knew that Grunkle Stan had a twin brother. We knew that his twin brother wrote this journal and several more, and we knew that this twin brother was the original creator of the Mystery Shack, which was originally a lab before it was turned into a tourist trap, that him and Stan had some kind of rivalry. He had kind of a charmed life, Stan didn't, and that his dealings with the supernatural got him caught up in some business, resulting in him being taken away by some evil, mysterious force, and now Stan has been sort of taking over his life and searching for him at night. But the fact that the big bad was Bill, the fact that there was a portal, the idea that Old Man McGucket was involved, those were things that we discovered over the course of the process.
I didn't know any of this. In fact, there were things on this show that were pointed out to me. This was the first cartoon that I've ever been a part of. And so I just assumed it was like a fun, cool, weird kid show. I didn't know how deep the rabbit hole went. And then someone pointed out Blendin' Blandin' popping up in these first 3 episodes. And I went, what is that?
And then suddenly all the like bags under my eyes made sense. You're like, wait a minute.
Exactly.
He's not just prematurely aging.
And then I would come in to record my voice, and I felt like I had a front row seat to the crew. I was like, Alex, so what's the deal with this? You know, I was trying to ask for all the people watching the show, but I never got any answers.
I always appreciated that, like, you were a fan of the show on the show. Well, because Dipper would love Gravity Falls.
Yes, he would.
Yeah. Who's voicing this guy?
Oh, that was me doing my best impression of high schoolers as I remembered them when I was a middle schooler.
Oh.
Just lots of grunting.
So this is the first of many. This is the first of many Mabel crushes. I will admit to being like definitely inspired by Flight of the Conchords, the character of Mel, the way that she was in love in the wrong way.
Yeah.
Was something that reminded me of my sister, and it's like specifically that's the role that made me think, oh my God, I've got to get Kristen to play my twin sister. And at this moment, like, your career was in the process of taking off. I feel like we grabbed you just before you came huge, because like I feel like if it had been a week later, you would never have done this show.
Oh no, I'm still waiting to be huge. Yeah, I remember my agent was like, "This is so you have to do that." Joe, our agent, she said she was a big fan of it.
Do you two share an agent?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
And then she said that Jason was nice.
Oh, that's
so
nice.
I was like, I don't know how that was selling it to me, because I never got to see you.
I know. Well, there was one episode where we got to do it together with Thurup.
I was in LA for some reason.
Yeah.
And I remember I was saying
That's
you
right.
showed me a music video you made with your band.
Oh,
What a dork! I had to sit there and watch it.
I just wanted you to see it. I was sharing, guys.
You're so
It's
sweet.
bonding, you know?
That was a really sweet moment.
I remember that first time we all like met together in the same room, and it was like Kristen was busting everyone's chops like she does. Like Jason was being just like sweet and delightful.
Yes.
And I recently saw a photo of that day, and
No way.
my hair was like out to Like I had
Oh,
like
yeah, you had an afro.
I had like I hadn't shaved or cut my hair in maybe a year at that
Yeah.
point. I looked like a werewolf. I look insane.
I was happy to meet you in person, though, finally.
To
Because
put a face to
Yeah.
the voice.
I was recording in New York for a while.
That scene with Mabel and the leaf blower, there was a lot of people really trying to make us not keep that scene in the show. In particular, the fact that she mentioned that she got a hickey. We couldn't use the word hickey, so we invented the phrase smooch mark.
Oh, really, Hickey? Why not?
You know,
That's interesting.
it changes from week to week.
Yeah.
He's blinking when you're blinking.
Mabel, remember what the book said about Gravity Falls? Trust no one!
Well, what about me, huh? Why can't you trust me? Beep bop!
Mabel, he's gonna eat your brain!
Dipper, listen to me. Norman and I are going on a date at 5 o'clock, and I'm gonna be adorable.
I never noticed that Dipper has this hat for only this episode.
Oh, yeah.
And Mabel's earrings are little stars as well.
Oh, that's a coincidence, the star connection, but the hat is. So I was saying before about kind of the job of a pilot, and you're trying to set the tone, and you're trying to establish what this series is. And one of the things that I really wanted this series to do was to have continuity and to have change. And I was trying to figure out, as a TV viewer, you're used to seeing, particularly in cartoons, something changes and then it reverts back in the next episode like nothing happened.
Yeah.
So I was trying to think of little subtle ways to tell the audience change is real in this show. And so one of those ways was Dipper's wearing this hat and loses it and gets a new hat at the end of the next episode. And then next week, he's wearing that hat.
Yeah.
Little tiny signals
Yeah.
just
I
to
love
suggest, pay attention because there are consequences, and hopefully it would make the stakes of the series feel a little bit more
Oh, that's
believable.
so cool.
Also, don't they age as well? Like, they celebrate a birthday.
They celebrate their 13th birthday near the end of the series.
Which
so like,
cartoons don't do.
which
'cause-
never,
Yeah.
never
Also-
happens.
Mabel picks up a grappling hook at the end of this episode, and that comes back as well, guys.
Sure does.
Sure does. You've
Sure
already
does.
seen the show as per our instructions at the beginning of this commentary.
Yeah.
So I mean, almost everything in this episode exists for like a sort of structural purpose for the story, but then there are things like the hat, like the grappling hook, that have no plot functionality. They're 100% there just to suggest something about the tone. Like that scene at the end with the grappling hook and the hat. One good way to establish characters and the differences in their personality particularly when you're writing a pilot, is show how different characters respond to the same situation. So Grunkle Stan saying, you can pick anything you want, and Dipper choosing something kind of practical, and Mabel being this like cute girly girl with pink outfits, you think maybe she'll pick a doll or something, she picks up a grappling hook. It's only there to tell you Mabel's gonna defy your expectations and be weird.
Yeah.
But it doesn't do anything for the story. It's just we're still trying to sell the tone from the beginning to the end.
So when you think about these things, Alex, like how long did you think about this? From like when you sold the show, like how long did this develop in your head for?
The episode or the series?
This both. Like
Sure. Well, the series came from like Disney called me up. They'd seen some student films I had made, and they liked them, and they asked if I would pitch anything. And I didn't really think of myself as somebody. I wasn't really interested in kids television because there wasn't a lot of kids television at that time that I was very excited about as a viewer. So I thought, okay, well, if I'm gonna pitch a kids show, I'll pitch a crazy one. They'll say no, and then I'll go on somewhere else. And I pitched this just being like remembering my summers with my sister, and then just adding Grunkle Stan was sort of the thing I thought would get them to not pick up the show. It was like, let me add this pantsless Shriner who's like a felon
Yeah.
and is really rough around the edges. And they liked it, which I wasn't expecting, and they asked for a pilot. And I came up with a shorter version of this story, which is what you remember, the original pilot. And I was just filling it with stuff that was really bizarre, like this scene with the guy being a bunch of gnomes and just goofing around, just really trying to set the tone up front. Like, if I'm gonna make a kids show, it's got to be really weird. Are you sure you want to buy this?
yeah.
And every minute of that, I was kind of daring them to say no and cut me loose, and they unexpectedly kept saying yes. The pilot itself, I mean, we probably spend like a month in the writer's room for each episode. This one, we were working on for a few months longer because we kept putting it off because we kept wanting to change things to make them fit with where the series was headed.
Yeah.
And at what point did you decide to do stuff like put blend and in and all
All the
these little
codes.
like secret codes and all
Sure.
that kind of stuff?
I mean, from the jump, I wanted to make this as rewarding to viewers as humanly possible and fit as much weird code stuff in as I could. And because we had all that lead time where the first 7 episodes in production could be aired in any order, like, we had done episode, I think, 5 or 6, The Time Traveler's Pig, before this needed to be wrapped. So we had time to stick blending in those episodes.
Oh, that's so cool.
Which is, like, now with streaming, like, lots of shows can do that, but it was pretty much unheard of at the time, and we were like, let's try to make the most of this lead time that we have in a way that really wasn't common in TV. And I remember, for those who noticed, they really appreciated it. Jon Stewart, who I was always a fan of, Kristen was kind enough to let me get backstage on The Daily Show and meet him, and that was something he mentioned. He was like, blend in the background. That's
so
really
cool.
And it was like, I remember really kind of fighting for getting that level of detail, and there'd be sometimes pushback, people saying no one will ever notice.
Oh my gosh. You go on the like Gravity Falls Wikipedia and there's stuff that
you scroll and scroll and scroll.
You scroll and scroll and scroll and you find all sorts of cool little secrets.
It's been really rewarding seeing fans of all ages like discover all the dumb things that we hid inside this show.
Is there anything that people haven't discovered that you put in? That
Great
you've noticed?
question.
I wish I had like a cool answer, but like the truth is, like, almost everything.
They got
Journal number 3, the book that we wrote.
Answer.
Journal number 3, the book that we wrote. There's some codes and references that I have never seen discovered. But the series itself, like the fans picked it apart so thoroughly that they started finding things we didn't even put in there. Like a second ago where you were like, oh, Mabel's earrings with the star and Dipper's star. Like, fans will see that and they'll come up with this
whole
amazing
big theory right.
that makes me and my writers sound like geniuses. And I'd like to be like, oh yeah, we thought of that. But some of this stuff, once you start putting down breadcrumbs, fans will find stuff that you never
They'll
even
find
imagined.
pretzels, right?
Uh-oh.
So this voice that I do for Jeff the Gnome, it's basically identical to the Bill Cipher voice. I thought that people would have a problem with that. No one ever minded.
The voice doesn't matter.
Voices aren't that important. Kristen, what do you remember about just the early days about getting involved in this show?
Well, I've already shared that story where I was over, you were in my headphones in New York doing the pilot. You just made me do every line over and over and over again, including the screams.
Well, this is an example of me and Mike Rihanna, who were working on the show at the beginning. We had never made a show before. We knew nothing about anything.
You didn't.
And I'm so grateful to you guys for bearing through our learning phase.
Yeah, as I walked out, I'd lost my voice, and I was like, "Oh, I don't think I can do this show."
Because of the amount of screaming and
just because you weren't trusting the takes. So then that's why I asked to get Virginia in the studio. Remember?
You were right.
I said, "You need a director.
We need somebody who knows how to make a TV show."
So we got this Hanna-Barbarian veteran to sit by you,
help us figure this out.
And she was fun. She is fun. She's still alive.
We started to just do all my screams at the end because I knew I was going to blow my voice out.
There's a lot of screaming in this show.
So I just sort of counted that into my day. For the rest of the day, I would just be.
But you got better, Alex. You got more confident, I think. And I knew the show better, and it worked out great.
Yeah, I mean, it's just it was definitely a learning process. Just literally, basically going from college to you're running a show.
Yeah, you were way too young to have your own show, and
Whatever happened to that gnome in the 6-pack ring?
Oh, he's dead.
Oh.
He's long dead.
Oh my gosh!
Oh, no.
That's not what I
He's
was
fine,
expecting.
guys. He's fine.
Oh my gosh!
I gotta give props to the storyboard. This scene was storyboarded by Alonso Ramirez Ramos, one of our premier storyboard artists.
He won an Emmy, or he won an Annie and an Emmy.
Whoa!
Right?
He's got a bathtub full of Emmys at this
cute.
point. He is an amazing artist, and I'm so grateful that he was on this show. So this is that scene that we were talking about that has no plot functionality. I'm trying to do 3 things here. One, I'm trying to show that Stan is maybe a character worth caring about if he sees that the kids are in pain and does it. This is his version of charity, which is, I'll give you a thing that I don't have to pay for. And then how these 2 kids react to it just as a way of suggesting their personality.
Oh, yeah.
There they are. I remember I was so excited when I got my real Dipper hat. that was before they were. It's still the one that I'm wearing today.
The staging on that shot, definitely a reference to Legend of Zelda.
Oh, I love that.
Grappling hook!
Fair enough.
This one shot with those two in the room, Dipper riding Mabel, just jumping on the bed and laughing about nothing. I think that by this point you get who the characters are. You've got a pretty clear sense. In terms of like continuity, we didn't really know where the vending machine led at this point. We knew that there was something underground. We knew that there's some kind of machinery and that Stan is part of Stan's search for his brother involves this secret room down there. The idea that it would be an entire lab that would go multiple stories deep, that was something that we were still figuring out at this stage.
What about his tattoo? Did you know that?
That we knew.
Oh, man.
What year is Gravity Falls? Because they don't have like phones or anything.
Yeah, in my mind, there's no canonical year. It's just sort of this space that feels like my summers.
Huh.
There's another thing. In these first couple episodes, I'm listed as Jason Morgan because there was some weird
Contract
rule,
dispute?
Yeah, that I couldn't use my real name. Or, I mean, that's my middle name. That's my mom's maiden name, but isn't that weird?
Now you know.